Next, we're going to go into the tools that are up here. So the first option is our crop tool, which will let us crop in closer. On mine, by default, it locks us to the original aspect ratio. So if I grab a corner, you can see that it's going to keep the same type of rectangle. But if I click on the lock symbol and unlock it, I can then make a different aspect ratio. I could also choose under custom an aspect ratio of my choosing. Usually that would be a 2 to 3, which is very close to our original. I'm going to stick with original. And if I pull a corner down, I can then click inside the box here to recenter. And if I would like, I can rotate by clicking outside of one corner. Now, if there's something in your image that you know should be level or horizontal or vertical, you can click on this little level tool and draw a line across that. So I'll line up to that board there, and that should work to level. I could also just pull this slider back and forth or do auto, which usually does a pretty good job. If I like my crop, I can hit close. If I don't, I can hit reset. If I close it, I can always click back into the crop option, and it is a non-destructive editing, so I can recrop and expand back out at any point. The next tab is going to be our remove tool, and that will allow me to, for example, find something I don't like in my image and paint over it with this tool. And it will then allow me to click remove, and it'll use AI to remove it. This type of AI use is perfectly valid for this course, so that's perfectly fine. And then if I click off of this tool, it should lock that in. And if you don't like it, you can just have it generate new options by clicking back onto it here and hitting generate. It also has 3 different variations, I believe, here. So if I click through these, you can see the subtle changes. I actually like option 2 best. So I'm going to stick with that. And I will then click off of that and move on to the next tool, which is our red eye reduction. You should never have to use this tool. Simple solution. Red eye is caused by flash on the camera. Just don't ever use the flash and you won't end up with red eye. But what the red eye tool does is it just removes the red and usually gets the color of the eye fairly close. The next option is masking. There's also one for AI, but most of the AI we would do is in masking here. And what I usually would use masking for is to brighten or darken one aspect of the photo separate from the other. In a darkroom, we'd call this dodging and burning. And the kind of background of it would be by using a brush tool. I could paint onto something. You see how it kind of highlights it in red. And then I can use a slider to increase or decrease the exposure on that. Now, that's not a very advanced way of doing it, but that's the old-fashioned way of doing it, I guess I'd say. So I'm going to delete all masks, and I'll use a more advanced one. For example, this one allows us to highlight the subjects, and you can see it does a really good job of highlighting people. And what it allows us to do is it allows us to make them pop out. And what I would do is to just brighten the exposure on them just a little bit. And I could also add a new mask and have it select the background. And if I do the almost exact opposite to the background by darkening it, it really makes the people pop out in the photos so that you focus on them more. The other options for masks are sky. So if you needed to darken the sky if it was too bright, or one that just selects the people. The select subject will also choose objects that seem to be what's in focus and in the foreground. landscape, select objects if you wanted to click on a certain object. Brush I kind of showed you. Linear gradient is great for, let me try a different image that might be appropriate here. I don't know, maybe this. If you wanted to lighten one side of the photo, like the right-hand side, this is darker than the left. So if I click and I drag, this makes a gradient where it's going to apply more in the red and not apply in the clear part. So if I increase my exposure, that will let me brighten the right-hand side of the image to kind of match the left-hand side. Or often I would do it in a landscape, lightening or darkening the ground versus buildings or the sky or something of that sort. Radial gradient allows you to have it only apply to the center. So if I wanted to brighten the center of an image, I could do that. Although there is an option, let me think here, invert right here, where if I wanted to darken just the outside of the image, I could do that. Or I suppose brighten it if you have camera vignette that's already darkening. But that'll do from center outward. And I'm going to skip over these other ones because they're really advanced and I wouldn't say most Photo 1 students would even use them. So that is all the other tools in the Basics tab.